And we are live. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to our monthly show. I think we're calling it State of the Revolution. Is that what we
Yep.
decided?
Yep.
Okay. If you guys think that sucks, you can feel free to let us know that you do not like the name State of the Revolution.
We
But that's
listen to
what
the
we're going to
people.
call. Yeah, we leave it to the people to see what we. But if that's what we're going with, at least right now. So we like it. And tonight, we're going to be talking about Einstein's Why Socialism. And we were talking a little bit before we even started the show. I really like this. Like, this is going to be my new go-to piece that I recommend to people. What did you
Yeah.
think about it, Jeremy?
I consider it an excellent primer for the introduction to socialist ideas, which is ironic because Einstein's commonly known in culture as the smartest person ever, but he breaks it down well. Like, it would be like it's like reading Marx or any other socialist theorist without complicated math or a history breakdown that goes into but it's simple, but it explains a lot in a short space. It's you know oh 10 or 15 paragraphs long or something. It's not long at all.
No, it's not a big piece, but it's dense. Like, I was
Yeah,
going through and taking notes of what I wanted to talk about tonight, and I'm pretty much, just writing the whole thing again. And, like my notes are longer than the piece itself to read because there was so much good information in there.
it's a
And I
good
guess,
exercise in highlighting because you have to pick out what's not important, but most of what he says is important.
Right. I guess I'll give a little background of why he wrote it first for people. He wrote it in 1949, and it was for the first edition of a publication, a leftist or socialist publication called the Monthly Review, which is still in publication. They actually just republished it like
Mm.
maybe 10 years ago, which I thought was interesting. And so this was kind of the commemorative, edition of that he wrote this for. And I mean, the way he wrote some of this stuff, it's still relevant because we're still battling the evils of capitalism. But a lot of it actually almost kind of made me start realizing why people are panicking so much about coronavirus, like the people that are having the protests. The way he explained things really like kind of made you think a little broader in how we talk about things and how we talk about the people that are panicking and alienated because they don't think their connection to society is a good thing. Basically, they view their
I,
connections to society as something tedious or bad, and because they can't be individual and take care of themselves, they have to rely on society now. So that's leading to sort of
I,
another alienation, as Marx might say.
yeah, this brings up one of the first good quotes in the a piece. He says, "Man is at one and the same time a solitary being and a social being. As a solitary being, he attempts to protect his own existence and that of those closest to him. As a social being, he seeks to gain recognition and affection of his fellow human beings, to share in their pleasures, to comfort them in their sorrows, and to improve their conditions of life." So that's very important because it shows a symbiotic relationship between the individual and the other individuals that the individual interacts with.
Right, and that's sort of creating an internal struggle, and especially when under capitalism, everything's a higher struggle. It's really creating insecurity in people that they don't
Yeah.
know what their role is. They don't know how they're comfortable. They don't know how they're going to be able to provide for themselves. And really, it's because of these society that we're in that we have so many more opportunities and things can be so much better, but people aren't necessarily seeing it that way right off the bat.
Because they grew up in a society and it's the option for them to realize their full potential is to step on each other's toes. Even in society, if you, unless you're a revolutionary, which not everyone's to do, either live in a diet of security and poverty, you're trying to a certain form of privilege, or if you want to be successful in privilege, then you try and capitalize and exploit anyone you can in order for you to get the most freedom you can. Freedom under capitalism is freedom for the capitalist that's only attained by exploitation of the working class as a whole. And as Einstein said, the individual depends on society, and they depend on their following of legally established rules, not necessarily by force. No one is directly putting it into our temple to have us, work. But say there are lots of guns to our heads to go to work, but because that's how it's been done for so long. It's the social convention that we've followed.
Oh, I think you've completely frozen up for me, at least. If you guys are watching this on the live stream, can you let us know if things sound good to you or not? Because for me, things are freezing up, and I'm not sure if it's on my end or on Jeremy's end. So if somebody can comment for us on the Facebook page or wherever you're watching this from, I see there's at least a few people watching currently. Let us know if things are sounding okay to you. Yeah, I can hear you now. It kind of is coming and going. But I think what you were talking about was what Einstein sort of referred to as the predatory phase of human development, and that socialism seeks to get us past that predatory phase. Like that's, so we can't really even talk about, I guess, this is when he was talking about why anyone has the right or the ability to talk about socialism, that you don't have to be an expert in economics or have a PhD to want to have these conversations about socialism. But because everything that we currently have was created under this predatory aspect of the human condition, and we're trying to devise something that gets us out of that predatory, that even the experts in what we have aren't really experts in providing a prescriptive like socialism.
Of course not. Because they're, insulated enough to be an intellectual, to be intelligent, to have the time and the ability to muse. And not everyone has that ability because they're going to work all day.
Right. So I thought that was kind of how he started it, and that was a good thing of, because I've had conversations too, where basically I tell economists, you're not a scientist. Economists like to think that they're scientists, but they're not exactly doing science. In science, you control all the variables. And, this was coming from Einstein. He's like, science is a very specific thing. If you have a million different moving parts, you can't run an experiment. You can't isolate the variables in the world economy. So economists aren't even scientists to begin with, and they shouldn't call themselves scientists. They're just observing what was created under this predatory aspect of human development. And this was coming from Einstein, people, so he's a good one to talk about science. Oh no, I may have lost Jeremy completely now. Jeremy, if you can still hear me, do you want to log out and pop back onto the stream again and see if that fixes anything up? Or if it's me, oh, are you back?
Yep.
Okay, you sound better now.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, you froze up, like the screen froze completely there for a moment.
I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah. So you were saying economists aren't scientists.
Yeah, and this was coming from Einstein, that when an economist isn't a scientist, because in science you have to control all the variables and only test one thing at a time. That's how you do a science, basically. But, economists, you can't control...
Or how you do human society.
Right, there's a million things going on in human society.
Or what everyone... Yeah. It is a process, but it's not an strictly regimented process in the same way that a scientific test is.
Right. So what did you think were some of the more striking things in
the essay where...
What?
There's a very telling part of the essay where Einstein Einstein talks about how one of his colleagues asked him why he's so concerned with the continued existence of the human race.
Oh, can
you hear me?
No, you're cutting in and out, and I'm not seeing. I mean, it very well could be me, but I don't know if I can get back in if I pop out again. So let's see. It looks like my connection is good. So I'm really not sure what I need to do. You may have to invite me back into the stream. I'm going to pop out for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, got it.
All right. Is this any better?
I can hear you.
I don't know if anyone else can hear us. No one's really commenting on if they can hear us or not. But while we're on a little bit of a technical break there, I did want to take a quick moment and thank one of our sponsors, if anyone can actually hear this. One of our sponsors on NJRR for the month is the Cherry Hill Women's Center. And this weekend, the the New Jersey Abortion Access Fund is having a virtual fundathon where you can do yoga. They have a yoga instructor that's doing yoga for you. It's not tonight, it's tomorrow evening. I believe it's 6:00. And I have on the scroll right now where you can go. You can still donate and be a part of it and help raise money over at the Cherry Hill Women's Center for women who are unable to have. Oh, okay. Someone did say that they can hear us both now, which is good. One of the comments there. So thank you for that, Whitney. Or whatever we were doing, cutting out before is gone. So anyway, go to this website here that's scrolling on the screen, and you can join, you can donate, be a part of this fundraiser this weekend, and help low-income women, especially now they're having women that they have to travel from states where they've deemed abortion to not be an essential service. Like Texas, women are having to travel to other states, and this fund really is helping low-income women get those medical services that they need. So thanks to them for being a sponsor for New Jersey Revolution Radio. Jeremy, let's see. Do you want to take back up the point you were making before we lost?
Yeah, I was saying that one of the more telling parts of the piece was how Einstein was very shocked when one of his colleagues, I think it was a colleague, asked him why he was so concerned with the continued existence of humanity. And I guess the person he was talking to was looking at it as a strictly scientific question, and is that, there's no cosmological reason why humanity has to exist. But Einstein was looking at it more like an ethical question, is that we're here, we're humans. If there's a way for us to prevent disaster or world-ending war, we should do it. So, in a way, it's commendable that he called out his scientific colleagues from thinking so nihilistically about that. That's an important thing to remember, that people are all people really have. And it's my opinion that we should fight to continue the existence of the human species.
Yeah, and being as I am part of the human species and I like being alive, I'm a big fan of keeping humans alive as long as we can. Maybe self-serving, but what else jumped out at you from this?
He said that there are parts of technological advancement that are here to stay, and that really kind of shuts down the argument in that, a lot of right-wingers use when they say, hey, you hate capitalism, but you use capital as products. I think that Einstein was trying to say, a further phase of society would move forward, not backward. So, it's not necessary to, destroy, laptops and cell phones and television now because that's here. And we like those things sometimes. We hate cable companies, but everyone hates cable companies.
Right.
He said it is only a slight exaggeration that say that mankind constitutes even now a planetary community of production and consumption. What he's saying is that, production and consumption is a world-spanning thing. That capitalism, as it exists, is a international endeavor. And I think in this piece, he argued for what he referred to as supranational organizations, which he meant to, beyond the realm of national. So I think he's arguing for an international order, a world government of sorts. I know that might sound scary to some people, but only if they think a world government is controlled by a minority of the population, an oligarchy, which is in effect, although not in name, what capitalism has turned into.
Right. Don't go to the conspiracy theory realm here. Don't think that it's reptilians or the Illuminati. It's just that borders, for example, are not serving you. We live in America. What does that mean? Why do we care? Like, all those borders are doing is preventing people from moving around, but enabling capital to just circle the globe instantaneously. So these borders are just constraining you in bad conditions because you can't just travel wherever the most opportunity is.
He said also private capital tends to be concentrated in a few hands, partly because of competition among capitalists, and partly because technological development and the increasing division of labor encourage the formation of larger units of production at the expense of smaller ones. And my answer to that is not a generally, liberal progressive answer or to break up large corporations. It's to bring the large corporations under public control.
Right. I mean, we're seeing that right now, right? That oil companies may go bankrupt, with the falling prices, the negative. I don't even know how you can have negative value for a barrel of oil. But like now might be a really good time to nationalize oil companies and nationalize the energy system. If they go bankrupt, okay, then you don't have a private energy. Now we take that on as a public owning. And that could make things a lot better, especially, then negative prices of a barrel of oil where you get a barrel of oil and some money are no longer this horrible thing that people are going to lose their jobs because it's nationalized.
He said also that private capitalists inevitably control directly or indirectly the main sources of information, press, radio, and education. And that extends to the internet and television and, internet service providers, cable, film. This was written in 1949, a lot's changed, but capital still controls the main sources of information. They just control more now.
Right, which is, I think, one of the things that we said we wanted to talk about a little bit tonight was I have an independent leftist media company. You have an independent leftist media company. That this is what Einstein, it was kind of like the whole reason for this was arguing the need for independent leftist discussions. That was kind of the goal of the piece. It was to, when they published an independent leftist publication, he's like, this really needs to happen. And I don't even think the left really appreciates the independent media as much as they should. I still see people trying so hard to get the mainstream media attention. We've got to get published. And I mean, these are like little local newspapers that, we've got to get published in this or that they kind of ignore the new revolutionary things that we're creating, that you're creating, that we're creating here at NJRR. Does that kind of annoy you a little bit too?
A little bit. And people if you don't like what the media is offering, make your own stuff. And then we make our own stuff. And they're like, you made your own stuff. You're participating in the system.
Right. It's almost like they don't much care what we're actually doing. They just want to be snarky about it.
I mean, the thing is, if we use the infrastructure as part of a capitalist mode of production to aggravate, to agitate, to advocate for the seizure of the means of production to the public, and that works, what are they going to do? Laugh that we used, existing structures to subvert the expectations? I mean, the seeds of destruction are already being sown. We just need to, water the plants.
Right. Yeah. And all of these things that should be under public ownership, that we don't have the option to use some public internet. If there was, I'd certainly support it and use it. It doesn't exist yet. So we have to use the tools of the enemy to create our own independent media discussions that need to happen. So, go ahead. Sorry.
But even in that case, there's a reason why the public option for health care is not going to be as good, is because it's going to be severely underfunded. And when it is, people are going to turn around and say, see, we told you it wouldn't work. We need to go back to, the private one that's good for some people, but bad for most people. Well, and, there's a reason why a lot of people say that the government and stuff doesn't work. This government doesn't work for most people. It's dependent on working for most people. It never occurs to people who are critics of the government that they could be part of a productive political apparatus, that they could be part of a working governance. You respond to people and what they think socialism is, and they say, I don't want the government telling me what to do. And you tell them what you actually have in mind, and they're like, I just want to get paid and go home. Well, which one do you
want? Right. There's definitely this contradiction there that is hard to understand what people really are looking for and what they want. And sometimes it almost feels like people just want to tear things down. And that is not helpful. We need to build independent media. We need to build we need to build the demand for this stuff, because who else is going to? We the people need to take it. The capitalists are never going to have these discussions on their platforms because they don't want us to do this kind of stuff we're talking about here. And we only have a few minutes left because things have been kind of cutting in and out. And you wanted to talk a little bit about May Day is coming up. A week from today is going to be May 1st. And you wanted to talk a little bit about the history of that and what's coming up this May 1st.
International Workers' Day is May 1st. It was started, I believe, in the late 1800s after something called the Haymarket Riots, or the Haymarket Affair if you want to be polite. And it advocated for an 8-hour day and better working conditions. Basic, reforms, but it required a general strike. And there hasn't been one of those in a long time. Now, I, for one, think that at a general strike at a time when a lot of people can't go to work anyway is a pretty good idea. I've heard people online suggest that you not buy anything on May 1st to really have the impact be felt. So if you need to stock up on food or whatever, I suggest that you do that before May 1st, so you don't have to buy anything on May 1st, and so that there can be an impact of people buying less, and maybe people's demands for medical protection or hazard pay will be met.
Right. Basically, there's not a physical picket line for the general strike because we can't be together in groups. So it's sort of a digital picket line that you shouldn't be crossing. And that means buying things from Amazon or buying things from wherever you're getting things from this, in this COVID crisis, that just imagine that there's a string of workers between you and that storefront. You wouldn't cross it in real life. Don't cross it digitally either.
Yes. I think that it's important to realize the power that the public has in striking and in boycotting. The capitalists depend on the working class to work for them. I think around 40% of people are essential workers, and that's a big percentage. And another 10% are working from home. So, there's a lot of people that can't work. And it's important. I think they get the resources they need to survive, and the people who have to work need to get the protection and frankly the extra pay that they deserve. Eventually I'd like it for them to own and manage their own workplaces along with the consumers for customer feedback. There'd be a co-partnership, but for now it's important to stand in solidarity with people trying to get paid more.
Right. We're the people that are essential right now, the people that are keeping the economy going are generally the people that are making minimum wage. These are the people that are working in your grocery stores. They're feeding you. They're producing the goods that you need to survive. And these are not the white collar protected people. These are people who do not have the gear that they need to not die doing their job. And we need to stand with any demands that they're making right now. And because they're the most powerful people in society right now, because they're keeping all the rest of us alive.
A lot of them are tired of being praised, tired of being told they're heroes if they're not getting paid more, if they're not getting protection, if they're not getting the services they need, if they're not getting health care. I had a post on Facebook a few days ago. Veterans asking why the football guy wouldn't stand up for them, and the essential workers being like, "Ew, stop praising us. This is hell. Give us what we need." So you can see the class character of the proud veteran in contrast with the essential worker. It's not the same. I'd say that essential workers are doing an essential service in providing us the resources we need to survive in this time, because someone has to, at least until automation, which, by the way, automation either happens under a socialist society or a fascist one, and the fascist one has, you can take what we give you but nothing else, whereas the socialist one will be that the public decides how resources are made and how they're distributed. And we all need to take on the burden as we can, and a lot of people are coming out with signs saying, "I want a haircut." That is really not what we need to be advocating for right now. But the class character of those protests is probably either small business owner or the person rich enough to have a small business who doesn't really care how much the grocery store worker is being paid. So it's important to understand that, not all protests are created equal. Not all political actions are revolutionary of a sort.
And I think that's a good tie back to Einstein, who, was the man of the evening that we've been talking about, that he talks about when capitalists are controlling production, they're not doing it to meet public needs. They're doing it for profit. And what would think about what the situation we're in right now would look like if things were being produced to meet public needs rather than what can sell for the most. We wouldn't have these shortages because companies would be changing over their production. If the public was demanding, we need masks, we need things to make, these people safe. We need to supply them with what they need. And that was what
because they're the
production
one.
changed
Because the
over
public
to.
would be the one that owns it.
Right. And we would be not as, it could have prevented some of the spread that we're seeing, that, people's lives possibly could have been saved if we were in a position where we had central planning and the people said what they needed.
Yes.
So, it's relevant. And even though he wrote this, what is it now, like 70 years ago? Is that about
71 years ago?
70 years ago. It sounds like it could have been written today. Like, yes. Nothing has changed. Every single thing he says is still relevant. All those contradictions are still there. So I highly recommend anyone that gets a chance to read this, to read it. It's quick. I set aside a whole day to read it, and I was done within an hour. And I messaged Jeremy oh, well, I'm done now.
Yeah. So, you need to tell people, read an essay by the smartest person ever. Maybe he'll start listening.
Right. If the smartest person ever, or at least someone that's recognized to be, I'm not actually going to say he is the smartest person ever, but that's how we talk about him, says this is what's wrong with capitalism, then you go out and you see what's wrong with capitalism.
There's one more quote that's relevant here. It's by someone named Stephen Jay Gould. And I'm kind of paraphrasing here, I'm much less interested in the scientific capabilities of Einstein as I am in the untapped scientific abilities of someone who died in a sweatshop or a slave field. So
right.
There's so many more people whose potential could be reached if we're doing what Einstein is advocating for.
My partner, Brian Powers, just woke up from his nap and said good morning to us, even though we're just about to close out the show. Good morning, Brian. Did you?
So read Why Socialism by Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
It's short, it's simple, and you can spread it around, and it's not too intimidating. So it's important. Support independent media, support leftist media, support the working class.
Right. Support, democratize the media, support New Jersey Revolution Radio. If you want to donate, and you can sponsor this very show if you want. We do this once a month. And we promise next time we'll have a slightly better internet connection. I'm going to guess it's maybe the storms that are happening, but I'm not sure why our internet's been a little spotty tonight. But you can sponsor us. You can help us make sure that we have the services to keep this going. If you want to sponsor this show, you want to help democratize the media, you can sponsor them. Where can people give you money if they want to?
I haven't set that up.
Okay.
Maybe I'll make a post asking for it. I don't know. For next, I'll like the page, like the Facebook page. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's under the same name. I haven't made a YouTube video in a while, but I want to get back to that. I have a lot of time on my hands. So
well, as always, it's been great talking to you. And if you want to sponsor New Jersey Revolution Radio, you can see the scroll across the bottom. It's njrevolutionradio.com/donate. Brian just linked that onto the Facebook page as well. So you can go there. There's various ways you can give us your money to keep independent media, leftist independent media going. And we appreciate you. Do you have a sign-off line that you use, Jeremy?
I haven't come up with one, but we could just say, and that is the state of the revolution.
Oh, there you go. And that's the state of the revolution. Thank you, guys. We'll see you again next month. If you want to recommend what we should be reading next month, you can go onto the Facebook page, the NJRR Facebook page, and make suggestions for us. You can drop things in the comments. We see all the comments that you make. And we will, if you have a good suggestion, we will happily, we don't have to pick it. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.